We are live. That was a little bit interesting. That kind of jumped up on us here as we get set for NBA fast break bets. It is time for game one of the NBA Finals. Erik, buddy, we've been here for the ride all throughout the NBA season, all throughout the playoffs, and now it's time to talk finals. We had a 7-game series in the Eastern Conference. Then on the Western Conference, it was a complete opposite 4-game sweep, a little closer than what you normally get in a sweep, but Denver beat the Lakers, and every time it was close down the stretch, they were able to execute a little bit better. Miami, what a road for them. They were your play-in team, your number 8 seed, your number 7 seed. They had to play 2 play-in games, though. They lost the first play-in game. They win the second. Then they beat Milwaukee, the number 1 seed, who was the betting favorite to win it all. They beat the Knicks. And then they beat Boston, who was the second betting choice to win it all. Denver, they beat Minnesota early. Then they beat Kevin Durant and Booker and the Suns, and LeBron, AD, and the Lakers to get here. We will be looking at the betting lines over at DRF Sportsbook. We encourage any of you in the state of Iowa to sign up now for a DRF Sportsbook account. And you can get a promo code bonus when you use our promo code FAST1000, a deposit match all the way up to $1,000. Erik, we'll also talk a little bit about Thrive Fantasy, and we'll show the website for those folks who like to play DFS, who like to wager on props. This will be like opening up a whole new world for you when we talk about Thrive in just a moment. So let's get some overall thoughts on where we land. We're looking at the line right now. It's about 9. It's moved in the Denver direction about 1.5 or so, right?
It's moving. I locked it in at the 7.5. I still like it at 9 or lower. Just the historical trend of teams going from a game 7 going to a game 1 since 2003. They're 29% ATS just covering, and then also just kind of put it in perspective. You have to travel from Boston to Denver, and now you have to play in altitude. And I talked about this before. Sports is like so mental. It's like probably 90-85% mental. Like tennis, golf, it's like 90-95. Basketball, it's probably about, it's more 60 mental. You have to be mentally tough. And the thing that Denver does, which is just brilliant, is before the game, they read over the loudspeaker the warnings of altitude sickness. And then they go, now let's welcome the Miami Heat, who are only, and they let them know over only like 200 feet above sea level. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
they're planting in the minds of the Heat
already.
Oh shit, dude. You know what I mean? They're already playing that mental game. And we've seen it. Denver's been lights out in the first game of the series at home, covering a machine, just because it takes a little while for these teams to get used to that altitude and everything.
Denver has looked so good throughout their playoff run. You're going to get a lot of Jokic, Murray, Porter Jr., KCP, Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown. That's the bulk of their rotation. Little Jeff Green, little Reggie Jackson if they have to go deeper, maybe some Braun. Then I
think we're going to see some Braun just
Yeah.
because I think it's a different type matchup.
Yep.
Because when you just kind of step back with what the Lakers had with Rui and Davis and just the hype, Miami doesn't have that hype really.
Yep.
So I think we're going to see a little bit more of Braun get a little bit more around this series.
You'll get Butler, Martin, Gabe Vincent, Bam Adebayo, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, Kevin Love, Zeller, Highsmith. A lot of the faces you'll see out there for Miami. Denver's never won a title, and a number 8 seed has never won an NBA title. So something has to give in this particular series. Denver has been shooting 49% from the field in the playoffs, 38% from 3. As a team, they've been fantastic. You go through their top 6 role players, and all of them have been incredibly consistent in every series. Like, they're just doing what they're supposed to do. They're hitting all their open shots. They're making plays. They're playing good defense. They're, just smart basketball. It's been Murray, 27.7 points throughout the playoffs. He was the first player since 1980 to average 30-plus points on 52% from the field, 46% from 3, 92% from the free throw line in a conference finals series, which is incredible. And he did that while Jokic is averaging just under 30 points a game in the playoffs, 13.3 rebounds, 10.3 assists. He's averaging a triple-double, just under 30 points. He's shooting 47% from three. He's had 8 triple-doubles. And this Nuggets offense, they're averaging 119 points per 100 possessions through 3 rounds of the playoffs. That's the most efficient offense in the playoffs in the last 6 years. I mentioned this stat yesterday, Eric, when we kind of previewed the full series. They scored more than 15.8 points per 100 possessions versus the Lakers than the Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies did. They were that much better than everybody else. They are going to be really tough to stop. I'm going to give Miami. Go ahead.
I have a trivia question for you.
Let's hear it.
In the history of the NBA playoffs, there are 2 players that have a over 6 points per game increase in their scoring average. Can you name who they are? And
Murray,
yep.
Paul George.
Nope. Joker at a little over 6. It was like 6.5, 6.6, something like that. And then Murray is the only one that has over 8.
Which
he
is
has
insane.
an 8-point scoring increase
In the playoffs.
Only one, which is absolutely absurd.
And that's what makes them so difficult to guard, is because you have this guy out there, Jokic, who can sort of break any kind of coverage you throw at them. And then Murray has raised his level to where you don't really think he's going to hurt you as much as he does. He was the best player on the floor in most of that series, a series that included Jokic, LeBron, and AD. Like, he was the guy who stepped up and produced the most in that series. And it was incredible. Miami.
And
go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
He said, sometimes we have to use what we learned from previous series as a moving forward.
Yep.
So when you just kind of look back at the Eastern Conference Finals, who won the player of the series or whatever, Eastern Conference MVP? It was Jimmy Butler, who probably should have won it.
Caleb Martin. Yeah.
In the West, who won it? Joker, who probably should have won it. Jamal.
Because how can he have a better? Then that's the problem when like you think about, because I mentioned when you're looking at betting the MVP for the series, the guy that jumps out from value is Murray, because he's like 10-1. You're like, oh, that's nice value. The problem is Murray going to have a better series than averaging 30 plus points? Literally, he was the first player since 1980 to do what he did, and it still wasn't enough for him.
He should have won it. But I mean, I guess that's kind of my point. Like, a lot of people are saying, oh, there's value here, there's value here. Well, we just saw 2 series where someone should have won it.
And it didn't matter.
Didn't. Now, hypothetically, let's say Murray has a huge game there, like drops 30, 40. Joker kind of struggles a little bit, and Joker's price comes down. Yeah, you know what? Then maybe you can get something. But like right now, pre-flop, unless you're betting like $10,000 on Joker to win it and using it as a CD, like a short-term CD bond, I don't think there's any point in betting that.
No. The Denver Nuggets come into this with 10 days off. Teams with 5 days off or more that are at home in the finals, they are 8-1 straight up. Miami off this 7-game series has to travel to Denver. In the playoffs, Miami ranks 15 of 16 teams in shot quality based on the second spectrum shot quality metrics. So what that means is, out of all the 16 teams that were in the playoffs, they were getting the worst shots, like the least efficient shots. They were least likely to make their shots out of 15 out of 16 teams. But overall in offensive efficiency, they're third. What does that mean? They have been making really tough shots over and over and over. Shots that you probably don't normally make. That's what concerns me about Miami in this matchup too. It doesn't feel like it's a great matchup for them with their personnel. And we just feel like shooting-wise and with some of their players who have been playing a little bit above their level, we just always feel like that regression might be coming. Are some of these guys who aren't used to playing 40 minutes, they're going to get run down and worn down in Denver when they've just come out of a 7-game series where they had to play more. Caleb Martin's not used to playing 45 minutes in a game. Like,
And
Gabe Vincent's not used to having to have the ball in his hand so much in games like he's had recently. Kyle Lowry's legs don't have much left. We saw Butler, who was still huge for them in game 7, but he wasn't the same guy that he was in the first round of the playoffs. Right now, he's worn down a little bit from all the miles and all the minutes. How do you think Bam's going to be trying to deal with Jokic there?
So here's something for you. When was the last time the Heat won a game in Denver?
I think in the last 5 years, they're like 1-10 against them overall, right? Something along those lines.
I'm looking at it right now, and who tweeted this out? Because I want to give credit. Mario on Twitter tweeted this out. November 30th, 2016. Their starting lineup, I'm pretty good at recognizing NBA players. There's 2 guys I can't even recognize on here. I mean, there's Josh McRoberts, Whiteside, and Dragic. There's 2 guys I have no idea who they are. Literally no clue who they are. So, I mean, it's just going to be tough with the altitude. Denver's going to look to get out and play. And then this is kind of like a different beast. The one thing that has really stood out to me that I don't think Malone and his staff get credit for is how detail oriented they are. And just kind of think about this. The Golden State Warriors, who are regarded Steve Kerr top 3 coach, top 5 coach, whatever in the league, he couldn't find a way to make D'Lo unplayable. Mike Malone
this is a great point.
D'Lo unplayable.
This is a great point because
something and he just attacked it. So he's coming up with a way. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Boom, 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 boom. And the thing when you're an NBA coach is like, and look, I harp on adjustments all the time, but you never really want to be that first NBA coach that kind of sits back and like, God damn it, I'm gonna have to pull my trigger. I'm gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
But you want to be that guy that finds the weakness, picks on it, attacks them, and makes the other team adjust. And it's going to be interesting to see, okay, if we don't, like right now, it's 6:30. We don't know exactly, is Love starting? Is Highsmith starting? What is Spoel's starting lineup going to be? But if he goes small, you better believe they're going to be pounding the ball inside to their size. He's going to find a weakness and make one of those players unplayable. Have to be Duncan Robinson, whoever. He's going to find something, and he's just going to pick on that and force Spoel to change.
What ends up happening is it's got to be a little bit of, like, you put the pressure on them to force it to get into their head a little bit. Like, for example, guy like D'Angelo, if he comes out in game 3 or 4 and hits 3 or 4 threes early in the game, that might have changed things a little bit. But the problem was you already put the pressure on him with the way that you sort of attacked him in those first couple games. It was already in his head, 1 or 2 bad shots, and then the trigger is shorter and you pull him out, right? And that's sort of what was happening. Like, you needed D'Angelo to also struggle a little bit because in those first 2 series, and this is more like a D'Angelo conversation even, I guess, than with Denver. Like, I'm kind of happy as a Laker fan. I think that I think the Lakers should run it back with him again right now, and he's going to be really undervalued because of that last series. And people are only going to be thinking about that last series and not the fact that this guy's still a very valuable player through a lot of your regular season and was still very helpful for the Lakers in a couple series and is the type of player that they need. They still need some floor stretching guys who can light it up. We all just remember D'Angelo getting benched. And again, that was Mike Malone. He chirped a little bit. He put it in his head. He got inside their head. And as you said, he did things that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson couldn't do to D'Angelo and Steve Kerr, which was very, very impressive. And I've been so impressed with this Denver team from top to bottom, from their head coach to their leaders with Jokic, Murray, and then all the way down. And that leads to a couple of our plays because, Erik, as we dive into the game today, you mentioned this when we talked about the conference finals, to lock in the Nuggets right away when it opens up. You locked them in at 7.5. You're still okay all the way up to 9.
Yeah, I think we remember game 1 against the Lakers and how just shell-shocked the Lakers were, how tired they looked. I mean, the game was over in the first quarter. Lakers made a little bit of a run. I think it was in the third, beginning of the fourth. But I think this is kind of going to be the similar thing, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Nuggets do get out to a big lead, if Spoelstra just kind of brings the troops back and says, okay, we're going to regroup.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I like him here. I'm not going to get fancy, play any alternate lines. I'll just sit on my 7.5. If you miss the 9, look, you can play Denver first quarter, Denver first half. I wouldn't be opposed to that either.
The one I locked in, Eric, here was the Heat team total under. The only thing that scares me about playing Denver at the number is just the fact that they've been off so long. They could be a little bit just rusty, right? They could miss a few shots early. 9-10 days is a long period of time to be off from like high level basketball. I don't know if it'll impact them in the full game, but I could see Denver sort of like we play teams in the Super Bowl, just kind of getting out a little slow early. If their energy might be incredible, but their shooting might be off. With the Heat, I'm going to lock in their team total for sure under 104.5. With the elevation, the travel, I don't know if, like you said, and if they get down early in game 1, I don't know if Spo is going to try to fight throughout. We saw him do that in game 5 against Boston. He packed it in early.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he packs it in early. And I mean, like, Spool's smart. He says all the right things. I mean, that Evers comment was obviously like, he's really good at like coaching his team through the media. That's one thing. Like, he's
a Phil Jackson kind of thing. It's a Riley thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got to give him credit there, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is a blow.
So you and I similar on our feelings about this game in particular and in a couple plays. I'm going Caleb Martin under 15.5 points. You played that for the full series, right? That number?
Well, no, like I got him to average under 15.4 points for the series.
Okay.
And then I also got this off of openers. I got under 16.5 points for this game.
Great.
Still like it under 15.5.
And you're going rebounds, right? 6.5 under.
Yeah, I'm going rebounds too. I mean, like if we just go over to StatMuse and we pull up Caleb Martin, excuse me. We just kind of look at him, look at his game log. I mean, in the conference semifinals, here he is. He's averaging 28.3 minutes per game against the Knicks. Knicks a little bit of a bigger team. Denver's a little bit of a bigger team, and he only averaged 10.5 points per game, only went over this total one time. That's when he had 22 in the game 2 loss. And who didn't play in game 2? Jimmy Butler, where he's going to be getting more run. You look at the first round against the Bucks, he only averaged 26.66 points, and he didn't go over this number at all. Look, Boston, more perimeter, a little bit of a smaller team. It was a good matchup for him to go off. And like you said, Malone's a real detail-oriented person. He is not going to let Martin have that type of game where he has 16 points per game. In terms of the rebounds, again, just kind of a bigger team. You just kind of look at him again. In the conference semifinals against the Knicks, he only went over this total once. Game 2, when Butler didn't play, averaged 5.2 for the series. First round, against the Bucks, he did go over this 2 times, but only averaged 5.4 rebounds per game. And would it surprise me if Love starts and only goes back to playing 28? No. Like, I just think we're putting too much respect on a guy's name when you look at this whole body of work. He's going to come back down to the norm.
His twos, okay, he averaged 9.6 points on the year this year, and he's a career 36% 3-point shooter. That's about where he is. In the first series against Milwaukee, he played really well. He shot 43% from 3, and he still only averaged 11.2 points per game. Against the Knicks, 10.5 points per game, 36% from 3. And then against Boston, he scored 14 points in every game in the series. He averaged 19.3 and 6.5 rebounds, shooting 49% from 3 in 35 minutes. You just got to make somebody prove that. You just got to make him prove it to you again. And if he does, more credit to him, but that number has ballooned way too high. It's up at 15.5 for the game. Erik got it at 16.5. We're both on the under for Martin. And then we both are figuring it could be a big series for Porter Jr. I played the over points rebounds, 23.5, Erik. I like that combo because he's the type of guy who can get 25 points alone if he's not even rebounding, but he's been rebounding like a monster. That's why you're going for the double-double here.
Yeah.
And like, just sort of do the matchup, like match everybody up in your head. So if Love is dealing with like Love and Bam, that's Jokic and Gordon, right? Like if those are the two guys back and forth, we're saying like Love maybe tries to guard Jokic, Bam tries to guard like behind, but I'm saying those two are the two bigs that match up, right? Who is guarding Porter Jr.?
Yeah,
like
he's 6'11", great rebounder, was a great rebounder at Missouri.
Does that
He's
like that leaves
size.
who? But does that leave honestly? That's Martin, Vincent, and Strus.
Yeah,
that are guys
5 inches on all of them. Like he literally has 5 inches on all of them. And just look at the Lakers. Lakers are a big team. They have some big dudes.
And he was too big for them.
He had a double-double in every game but one. Literally had a double-double in every game but one. It's just he's having 11 potential rebound chances per game for the whole playoffs. We just kind of look at the playoffs. He had 2 double-doubles against the Suns and 2 against the T-Wolves. I think this is a little bit underpriced. I think he's a little bit under the market. I did play him. I gave this out Tuesday on my show, Wednesday on your show, him to lead in 3-pointers. That was like plus 380 just because I think he's going to get a lot of open looks. He's so tall, he's going to be shooting over people. And I did play KCP to average 2.1 triples per game. That's just per game, 2.1 triples. And you look at KCP's history of work, he shoots over 60% from 3 when he has, 3 or more days rest. So obviously he has more days rest here. So, if he makes 4 or 5 threes tonight, I'm sitting pretty on that bet.
Erik, let's move on over and talk a little Thrive Fantasy. Good luck to everyone playing tonight. And if you're sitting back and you want to watch the game and have a little extra action on it, maybe you're somewhere in the state of California, Texas, places where you can't really wager legally quite yet. You'll be able to at some point, but not yet. With Thrive Fantasy, this is known as a daily fantasy site. It's a contest site, so you are able to wager on sports just in different ways. You can play in fantasy contest. You can play in head-to-head matchups. You can actually bet props as long as you turn them into a parlay. So as long as you combine 2 of them, you can legally wager on props, and they actually will give you better payouts, better value than you would get anywhere else. You can see the grid here that shows you a 2-prop parlay, 3.2 times your entry. 3-prop parlay, 6.5 times your entry. So you will be getting better value here. You'll also get a little bonus when you use the promo code Gino, Gino. Make your deposit. It'll give you a bonus from 25 all the way up to 250. Erik, my 2 props for today are similar to the ones that we've been talking about. I went Caleb Martin under the 15.5 points. I went Michael Porter Jr. over 8.5 rebounds and assists. The rebounds assist combo was what I went for Porter Jr. And so those would be my 2 that I would put together. And if you parlay them together, remember, it'll give you back 3.2 times your entry for those 2. Where were you looking tonight?
I am looking at, obviously, Martin under the 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Like I said, we really don't know what he's going to do. If one thing Malone has showed us, he's very detail-oriented. He's not going to give Caleb Martin all these open looks from 3. He's just not going to do it. He's going to make sure they buckle down on that. Also, I went to Porter over the 15.5 points. I think this is going to be a Porter type series. Also, it is pick 3 boost Thursday where they boosted up to 6.5x for a 3-teamer. So if we're able to find 3 of these that we like, the Thrive does give you a little extra juice on every single
Beautiful. Good stuff, Erik. Thanks for mentioning that. Promo code GINO will get you that deposit match bonus. Good luck to you, my friend. So we'll be back on Sunday to talk game 2 on Sunday, and we'll come to you. Is it at 5 or 8 o'clock Eastern?
I think everything's at 8:30.
I think so too. Let me just confirm on that so we can make the announcement and we know. So tonight.
Yeah, oh no, the game's at 8.
Okay. So 8 o'clock on Sunday, we'll come to you a little earlier in the day. We'll go 5 Eastern, if that works for you, where we've been going at this time. So we'll do that on Sunday as well. That way we can go a little later. That works for you? 5 Eastern Sunday. We'll have a better idea of lines, props, and everything like that. Good luck to everyone. Let's hope we have a great series. Game 1 of the NBA Finals.